answer to this, friends.
They're going backward.
Going backwards instead of moving forwards. And no, we don't need someone who's so extreme that they want to hand everybody a gold bar and a free bus. But there is room in the middle, and the Democratic Party is like, no, thanks, we're good.
And they did this already. They can point to the failures of San Francisco and places like that where they tried this.
Chicago.
It's like they're losing. They're learning all the wrong lessons from this, which is what's concerning me. And I'm like, guys, this is not. No, the answer is not that the country wants the party to be more progressive left. That's what fucking lost you the election last time.
Right.
But that is not the. What are you guys doing?
And it's extremely alienating. It's very alienating. And I'm seeing just in my own circles. Okay, so I'm in my early 40s. Obviously, most of the people that I pal around with are all Democrats and very liberal. I've always thought that I was very liberal. Until, the primary, even in 2020, I was supporting Pete Buttigieg and people were like yelling at me about it. Being like, why are you supporting a Republican? And I was like, what? When Pete Buttigieg really is the kind of mayor that New York City should have. I mean, a very practical, I can't. Anyways, but I'm seeing, I mean, the pushback that I've gotten personally in my life for being like, no, guys, Zoran ain't it. Like, I understand. They're like, well, you must be for Cuomo then. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I was like, are you out of your mind? I was like, no, of course not. I hate Andrew Cuomo. He's a terrible, terrible human being. But Zoran ain't it, guys. He is a democratic socialist. He is a member of Democratic Socialists of America, which is its own party organization, right? And so, and by the way, the last mayor of New York City that was affiliated with DSA was David Dinkins, which, if that tells you anything, like in terms of how long, right?
It was almost 40 years ago.
Right.
Here's the problem, Michelle. The problem is that the people who are doing the best communication, Pete Buttigieg in this party, are those people.
Yeah.
It's AOC.
No, he ran a great campaign. It's
Zoran. I mean, he ran a fantastic campaign. He's an extraordinarily talented communicator.
Because he's a performer.
Well, right. I mean, I was watching his speech last night, and I don't know, people are going to come for me, and I don't really care. But I was watching his speech last night, I don't know, like midnight or something, and I thought I was going to jump out of my body because I was like, how are people buying this? I don't get it. I'm like, listen, I have an entertainment background. I was an actor for many, many years. There is a line between performative politics and like being able to deliver a speech and being a communicator and like phony ass shit, and I'm not buying it. There's something very huckstery about him, and yet like yes and
compared to like the septuagenarians and octogenarian corpses, this guy is like, oh my god, it's easy for them to fall for it. It's a similar thing with with Trump, right?
Exactly.
Like, he stood out because he was an entertainer.
Well, it's like that speech from an American president, right? It's like how people are so thirsty that they'll drink the sand. And that's really where we're at, is because people are so starved. And to Julie's point, and her over it, is like this is the Democratic establishment's fault. This is their fault because, and quite frankly, if Cuomo hadn't been in the race, I don't know that Mamdani would have won. He was just the antidote, or like to the Cuomo nastiness and the old guard and the sexism and everything else and the Trumpism of it. He's very Trumpy. I've said this many times. Cuomo is Trump with a D next to his name.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And yeah, I mean, he's a really bad guy. And so, I live near Columbia University. I have a lot of Columbia University students who live in my building. And my husband, who is always the mayor of everything, knows everybody in the building. So we got in the elevator yesterday, and this Gen Z gal got on whatever floor. And Joe's like, hey, did you vote? Did you vote? And she's like, yes. And then she went on and on about how I saw Zoran on Friday night. He walked the city and everybody was out. He's so amazing. I got a picture with him. And I'm telling you, and then her little friends were there. They were all talking about him like he was one of the Beatles. Like I'm telling you. And if you, I sound like an old person when I say this, I get it. But it's like, if you dare to speak out and say, I do not support this person, the mob of cult of personality will come for you in a very similar fashion in the way that MAGA does to the never Trumper Republicans. And I have this horrible feeling in the pit of my stomach that I am going to end up being one of those people ousted from my own party if this continues. because
it reminds me of the Mangione stuff, like that kind of
Yes.
mob mentality, right? Like,
Yes.
if you spoke out and said, "Hey guys, by the way, I think extrajudicial killings were bad," they're like,
right, because he killed one of those corporate bastards who's he doesn't give us universal health care, so you're not part of the. And it's like, dude, that like this is the danger of populism.
Yes.
Okay, populism does not work. And the problem I know, I mean, the problem here is that you make all of these promises and people get all excited and you don't understand the policy implications of what that means. Populism consolidates power with the people at the top, and the people who think that they're going to get something, they don't. It benefits the friends and buddies of the people who are in power. It never trickles down to the people who actually want it. They just use it as a carrot. And and then they'll give you a little bit here and there, and then they're lining the pockets of their buddies, which leads me to my over it, because this is what's happening with what's going on with the deportations and this insanity with ICE and them snatching these masked bastards, snatching people off the streets and all of this. You have Joe Rogan out here now all of a sudden talking about like, oh, well, if they had said this during the election, they were going to take the, and I was like, I'm sorry, did you miss the mass deportation conversations? Because there were many signs at many rallies. Like, I don't want to fucking hear it.
Steve Bannon, like I it brings me back to, what is it, like late 2022, 2023. Steve Bannon was on The Circus with Tim Miller saying it's going to be beautiful. We're going to deport 10 million people. And Tim Miller was like, what? And he's like, yes, it's going to be great. And we're going to get it done. And they're doing it.
They're doing
it. Of course, it's all part of Project 2025. They wrote it the fuck down in a playbook, but that nobody read. And those who did read it were like, hello, like us, like, this is a problem. And then other people were like, no, they're never going to do that. And Trump said, oh, I never heard of it. And they just swept it under the rug. Well, they're checking off most of those things, playbook, a chapter and verse. And this is one of them.
Can I just interject? Because Susan Papalardo, hi Susan, said, I'm just hoping for Mikey Sherrill as our new governor of New Jersey. Let me actually connect the dots here for you.
Oh, yeah.
As to what happened yesterday in New York and what's going to happen potentially in New Jersey. So Larry Sabato, who I have a tremendous amount of respect for, from University of Virginia, he's your colleague, Tara.
Yes.
Tweeted out today something along the lines of, I have hopes for the Democratic Party. The future of the Democratic Party is Abigail Spanberger in Virginia and Micah Sherrill in New Jersey, and not Donnie in New York. Spanberger ran unopposed in her primary, so let's put her aside. But I know a lot about what happened in New Jersey. What happened in New Jersey was that Mikey Sherrill won because the progressive candidates, including Ras Baraka, the mayor of Newark, and Steve Fulop, mayor of Jersey City, who kind of repositioned himself as a progressive, split the progressive vote. Combined, they got more than she did. And the problem for Mikey Sherrill is that the base is not particularly energized because she's running an incredibly safe campaign where she's not talking about anything. She thinks that if she keeps her head below the radar and just talks about, the usual, like, we need affordability and yada, yada, and positions her opponent as a trumper, that she's going to win. And maybe she will. Maybe it's enough that she's running against somebody who's endorsed by Donald Trump.
I'm worried. I'm concerned.
But I am worried. I am worried as a Democrat who has elected every single Democrat in New Jersey going back to Jim McGreevey in 1997. That was my first statewide race in New Jersey. But trust me, I know that state better than I know my son. And I will tell you that I'm deeply concerned because she lost her home county of Essex, the largest vote-producing county in the state for Democrats. Her own home county. Why?
In the primary.
Because Black and brown voters voted against her.
Yeah.
And that's a problem.
Yeah, because what's going to happen is they're going to be depressed and not vote for her. They'll just stay home.
Yes.
And what people don't remember, and unless you live in New Jersey, which is where I am right now, I'm down the shore. We have friends in New Jersey, and JoJo. I'm down in Seaside Park right now, and those who know me know that my husband and I come down the shore in the summer all the time, and we always go the week before 4th of July, and we have wonderful friends that have a beautiful shore house, which is where I am right now. And I have been coming down here since I was a child. Okay. This is like my childhood happy place. And this is a very Republican area. Oh, yeah. So I see a lot of Chitterelli signs, but this is talking to the folks here. You have to understand that Phil Murphy only won by what, 1.5 points, Julie, against Ciattarelli last
but
time?
Only because of vote by mail, which Trump told Republicans not to engage in. That's changed.
That people don't realize how close that election was in 2021 because it was overshadowed by Glenn Youngkin and the fact that we had just come out of Trump and it was, Biden's first term. A lot of people weren't talking about New Jersey except for people who live here. And that's how close that race was. New Jersey also swung a whole lot of votes to Donald Trump.
He lost by 5 points. He lost by 5 points. That's it.
5.9%. Biden won the state by 13, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. So that's a problem. So Mikey Sherrill cannot run a safe race. Her campaign cannot be safe because I guess what? They're going to tie her ass to Zohran.
Oh yeah.
So,
they're going to call her radical.
Right now.
Did I tell you what happened? I mean, we can talk all day long about. I know we're not going to get into Jersey politics, but this is sort of like a good anecdotal story for all of this. So, whatever our problems are with Sue Altman, who ran against my Congressman Tom Kean Jr., who is a fucking pussy. I'm just going to put it out there. Sorry, Julie's dad, but hopefully you're not listening at this point. He's a fucking pussy who cashed in on his father's name and legacy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Sounds familiar.
Right. So Sue Altman, by no stretch of the imagination, is this woman a far left progressive? Okay, she one time tweeted defund the police, which my trolls love to say, didn't you? And no, I fucking didn't, because I never believed that we needed to do that. I still believe we need to reform the police. Nonetheless, I was at the gym. Tell me if I've told this story before. Well, actually, I'm going to tell it anyway. So two white ladies, middle-aged white ladies like me, are on the treadmills next to me, and a political ad comes on, and they say, yeah, I don't like that Sue Altman. And the other one says, yeah, I don't either. And then the other one says, she's a radical. And the other one says, well, what did she do that's a radical? She said, I don't really know. All I know is she's a radical and I can't trust her. That was what they ran with. That's what they ran on every single ad after ad after ad. And that was all it took. You just label them. That's what they're going to do to Mikey. They're going to label her. Like you said, Tara, they're going to wrap her all up in this whole other thing that is not related to her, because Mikey Sherrill is, again, not a far left progressive. She is a military veteran who has actually been pretty conservative in all things considered. She's hardly in the AOC, camp, but they're going to do this. They're going to label her a radical. They're going to call her extreme. And that's all that's going to matter. And she's not going to come back. Well, God willing, she does, with what she needs to do, which is they're the radicals. They're the ones who are coming for your freedoms. They're the ones that are coming for your rights. You want to say bye-bye to your reproductive access? You want to say bye-bye to gun violence prevention? That's the radical. That's what they're doing on the other side. But well, if I have anything to say about it, and they are very kind, and I've tried to help them, hopefully they will listen, but they have to go, you have to meet their tone and virality with the same exact intensity.
But you better figure out a way to get the black and brown folks out.
You got it.
Otherwise,
yes, you're right. And that Tara, they should be talking to you and Julie.
I mean, Julie. I mean, she knows Jersey politics better than I do.
I'm going to tell you something.
But I know Republicans, and so I mean, I know the tactics. I know what's going to fucking happen here, and I do know, my home state, North Jersey, mostly. But still, I understand the dynamics, and I'm telling you, the Republicans are more motivated here than the Democrats are, to a certain degree. And then, and if she doesn't come out swinging and figure out a way to do that, she's going to lose the enthusiasm gap here. They don't have much wiggle room, and so this is the albatross that what's happening in New York is going to have on all the Democrats, and I mean everywhere, if they don't make the adjustment. I'm
going to tell you guys something about Mikey Sherrill, which I find interesting. Every single candidate who ran for governor on the Democratic side called me over the course of the last year and a half, just to pick my brain, just because I've done so many races in New Jersey, except one, Mikey Sherrill. I'm going to go further. Jack Ciattarelli drove into New York City and had lunch with me for 3 hours. No agenda, just to say hi. And I've never heard him.
MAGA crazy.
And I've never, he's not MAGA crazy. He got endorsed by Trump, but he's not MAGA crazy.
Right.
But he is a smart, because if he's driving to New York to meet with me, I can guarantee you he's driving around to meet with people much more important than I am.
Yep.
And
He'll pull Democrats.
He'll pull Democrats. And she is running this very safe campaign as basically the third iteration of Phil Murphy. They're trying to say they're not, but it's all the same Murphy people around her.
I was going to say they're running her campaign.
They're running that campaign. I ran his campaign. I was one of the people, who architected his rise. And that was great in 2017. It is not the same strategy in 2025. Mm-hmm. And I'm very deeply worried about New Jersey. I'm very deeply worried about the kind of race she's running. I'm impressed by what Ciattarelli's doing in the same way that I'm impressed by what Mamdani is doing, despite the fact that I, don't support either of them. And so
watch him go to urban areas.
He's going to pick Black voters.
In Camden, Atlantic City,
Newark,
Patterson. Watch. I'm telling you right now. Mm-hmm. Watch. Because they know what we're telling you. You think his consultants don't know? Of course they do. You think that Chris Christie's people and all of them, they know how to win this. They know how to do this. So this is a whole thing. But I there's a lot. Let's move on from this because it's regional.
Yeah, all right. You guys have a heart out, so why don't you get to your over?
Okay, but it does have national implications, which is why we started off with this, because it's bigger than just what's happening in New York and New Jersey. This is a national potential problem for Democrats as a party, as if they don't have enough problems. But they cannot let this go and just think that, oh, this is the new direction. That's why we brought it up today. But I started to talk what my over it is, because it's related in that, as I was saying, that when you consolidate power and the populism thing, it kind of just moves over to what's happening with ICE, because all that's going on. Yes, what's happening with Iran, and we're going to get to all of that with Trump in a second, but what's happening with ICE over the last 3 weeks, particularly since when I was out in California a couple of weeks ago, the beginning of June, this has not stopped. This has gone on completely out of control and under the radar now, because the last 10 days have been dominated by Donald Trump throwing a foreign policy temper tantrum. And since the small in the pants parade, Joe, since that flopped literally, and then the No Kings rallies were hugely successful, but that got overshadowed because there were, political assassinations of Democrats in Minnesota,
which is barely making news.
Right, barely a blip. Why? Because Donald Trump went to the G7 and threw a temper tantrum and took his ball and went home, and to deal with the Iran-Israel situation. And then because Netanyahu was getting more praise for inflicting damage on Iran, oh no, Donald Trump couldn't allow that. So now he jumps into the situation again. And it was like, you're not going to tell me. I'm going to show you what I can do with my big bombs to overcompensate, without a plan of what was going to happen. And so all of this has been going on. Meanwhile, ICE is still snatching people off the streets. And these horrible, horrible videos of this man. Recently, we saw this guy. He was a gardener somewhere. Some landscaper out in California.
Three sons in the Marines.
3 sons are in the Marines. 3 sons in the Marines. And these bastards beat the shit out of him for no reason, just because they're bastards. And with their we want to talk about pussy asses, with their masks on and their fucking fat bellies, because they're rejects. And this is the first time they've had a chance to swing their little dicks around with their gun. And they're over here doing this to people who are just trying to make a living. Now, I'm a hardliner on immigration and border security, but I'm not inhumane. And what's happening inhumane, what they're doing to people. And Joe Rogan saying that they didn't think that they were going to do this. They didn't talk about they were going to deport the Home Depot laborers and the restaurant people and the landscapers. It was supposed to be the criminals. Well, he wasn't listening, okay? They were choosing not to listen to this. And now you've got Palantir, which is one of Peter Thiel's companies, that is out here mining all of our data and using it to give to ICE to target people, because they pay taxes too. There's a whole complication with this. People here that are undocumented, but they're still paying taxes and contributing. That's a whole nother separate problem. But they weren't supposed to be the people being targeted. It was supposed to be all the gang members. Right. Well, that hasn't happened. And now all of these people like Peter Thiel and these big wigs, data guys, Elon and Doge, all of this is tied together. These guys are making a killing off of Trump's deportations. You have the private prison industry people who are making a killing, and now this. And I want to point out that there are Democrats who are on this list of people who had stock in Palantir. Palantir's stock went from $73 per share on Trump's first day in office to $140 today. That's almost double. And guess what? Members of Congress who have traded Palantir stock in the last few months are, number one is Ro Khanna.
I can't.
Ro Khanna, Julie Johnson, both Democrats. Then you've got James Comer of Kentucky, Marjorie Taylor Greene, of course, Rob Bresnan of Pennsylvania, Gil Cisneros, another Democrat, and Jefferson Shreve of Indiana. Okay, this is a bipartisan problem. I don't want to hear shit from Ro Khanna anymore, frankly. Okay, I mean, I've never really wanted to hear from him anyway. But like, this is the kind of stuff here that we're dealing with that is flying under the radar because Donald Trump throws temper tantrums and everyone follows that over there. And meanwhile, this is the kind of corruption and duplicitous bullshit that's going on both sides of the aisle. And people are getting snatched off the street without due process. And people are getting rich off of it. This is bullshit.
You know who else who's not on that list, who isn't a member of Congress, but is the architect behind all of this? Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller.
Miller, 6 figures invested.
250,000. Thank you, Joe, for reminding me. $250,000.
It is blatant, unabashed, utter, like obvious corruption. They're flaunting it in our faces. Why? Because they know they have enough. Look over here, shiny object. Oh, big 30,000 fucking pound bombs, distractions. They have enough of that shit where they can just put this right out there. They don't care. There are 59,000 people in ICE facilities right now. More than half of them do not have criminal records. Joe Rogan, if you are listening now, okay, you can excuse what you maybe didn't hear because you were too busy at WWE events up Donald Trump's ass so far you could tell what he had for fucking dinner.
Yeah, UFC circle jerks.
You can listen now. You can raise the alarm now. Now people are going to look back at you and say, what did Joe Rogan do in this moment? And they're going to judge you for that. I'm done giving you fucking excuses.
When you know better, you do better. And if you know better and you're not doing better, that's on you. And you have to live with that.
And let me just tell you how this is going to end, right? Because these jokers are showing up with masks and no insignia, wearing vests that you can buy on Amazon.
Bounty hunters.
And local
bounty hunters.
Local law enforcement can't stop you because obviously there's federal supremacy. Well, here's what's going to happen. Somebody is going to go to Amazon or Target or Walmart and buy a vest and get a mask and walk up to a woman in a car and snatch her in front of law enforcement and say that they're ICE. And law enforcement is going to sit back and say, oh, we can't do anything as this kidnapping is happening on the street because that's ICE. Because they have no insignia. I saw it myself when I went down to Delaney Hall the day that Ras Baraka got arrested. No insignia. Any jerk can go and dress up as an ICE agent and grab any one of us off the street and take us to wherever the hell they want and do with us as they wish with a gun.
Yes.
And in front of law enforcement who does not check credentials because there's no credentials that exist. And that's
they're supposed to. And they're supposed to identify themselves. Right. That's part of our rights.
And this is the problem with a lot of this is because a lot of these are not ICE agents because the ICE agents are their own problem. What is happening in addition to this, yes, ICE is the Gestapo. What's happening in addition to this is that they are contracting out this rounding up of people. And they're getting paid per person that they round up. These are contracted. Like I was reading somewhere that a lot of them are former corrections officers or correction officer rejects, which is its own thing. Which I'm not even going to get into that. But then also, I mean, just to piggyback on this is the camps that are being built in the United States. It is happening. If the most recent story. They are breaking ground right now. This is in the news. You can look it up. In the Everglades, there is a new camp that's being built called, they're nicknaming it Alligator Alcatraz. And this is happening in Florida. It's happening in other places of the country as well. And then what happened this past week is Supreme Court ruled in favor of Donald Trump that they can legally deport any immigrant in the United States and send them to a third country that is not the country that they came from. Places like South Sudan, which they are putting in South Sudan is one of these places where like Doctors Without Borders will not go there because it is so dangerous. And like they're putting them in the most dangerous prisons in the world. Think about that. The world doing to them, God knows what, because they're outside the jurisdiction of the United States government and our laws and our Constitution. Are they torturing these people? Are they doing organ harvesting? Like, I don't know. I mean, like, that sounds extreme, but like, this is extreme. And it's not
crazy.
This is American. This is American sanctioned human trafficking. And these are private prisons that are being built all over the world, which then again brings us back to this Palantir situation. These are people who were lining the pockets of their donors, of their investors, of their own people in order to pay them back for donations, not only to their campaigns, but this is again, this circle jerk of greed. And they do it on the backs of human beings. And we should all be sickened by this.
And let's not sleep on what this is doing to American society, right? This is destabilizing on every level, not just on the pure humanity aspect of this, because we're traumatizing entire generations of kids to being fearful of our government. My 12-year-old daughter, we've talked about this, didn't want me to march on the No Kings protest because she was afraid I would get killed, executed, murdered.
Yeah.
Right? We're raising an entire generation of young Americans to distrust, to a great extent, their government. They're watching their friends and their friends' families getting snatched out of fucking schools. But also, we're taking away the day laborers. We're taking away the produce farmers. We're taking away the guys and women who will do the jobs that these fucking MAGA idiots wouldn't dare do, right? Because they're like, I paid enough to do it. So like all of the fallout of this is so much further ranging than they're telling you, but you're going to start feeling it while they line their pockets with cruelty. Like just let all of that sink in. And like we are always sounding the alarm on this, but we need, and by the way, we criticize our party, or in my case, our party, not in everybody.
Me too.
Not everybody's.
Listen, I have enough, years of being a Republican to make amends for 10 lifetimes.
Right. But we like the way we criticize our country. We do it because we love it and we want it to be better, and we want people to be paying attention to the ways that we can improve it, because this is our shot, guys. If we don't do it now, there's nothing on the other side.
Two more quick points about this. A fact that are relevant. When Julie went to Delaney Hall, that whole dust up, I did a thing about this. I did a Substack on it too, but back when it happened, that is one of the companies that is making billions of dollars off of the private prison industry.
Work for.
Pam Bondi was a lobbyist for them, and they miraculously got $1 billion contract in February to build these facilities or take over other facilities to expand detentions. And guess what another place is? Michigan. That's why when we were going off on Gretchen Whitmer and we were having arguments with some folks on here about why it was an issue for Gretchen Whitmer
but it's the jobs
be seen with Trump, we're like, no, this is all setting it up for when the Gestapo camps want to get set up in Michigan. She's going to either have to go along with that, or watch, Trump will pull whatever contracts or whatever he promised before. So now he's got her by the ass because of what she did. So when we say these things, we don't say them without full context, understanding that there are other steps involved when this happens. We're not just yelling and screaming for no reason about it. We are warning for a reason. And that's one of them. And by the way, Pam Bondi, if you guys saw, has been up on the Hill testifying this week, getting her ass handed to her. And she is an arrogant idiot bitch.
Yeah, she's not that smart.
No. And she had the audacity to get snippy with senators because they were calling her ass out for her level of corruption, her incompetence, and the fact that she's been weaponizing the Department of Justice to line her pockets and Donald Trump's pockets and his families and all of their acolytes. And she doesn't have an answer for it. And she's getting her ass handed to her.
The poster child for failing upwards just because she happens to be a fairly attractive blonde that got Donald Trump's attention.
Fairly.
Honest to God.
Well, and also this is where to your point, Tara, like the four of us here all come from very different, backgrounds and experiences in our careers. And there's nothing that we're saying here that is ever overblown. And we're really coming at these issues and these topics with experience and a fair amount of, maybe not as much for me, but like expertise. We're talking about decades in the Republican Party, decades as a Democratic consultant. Joe, I mean, you are on the ground every day in social media, listening and taking a lot of shit from a lot of the, these crazy people on the right, which every time I look at our comments, I'm always like, ugh. But because these people are the worst. But and I spent how many years working for Republicans? I mean, learning the defense against the dark arts. Like, we're coming at this stuff with a practicality and looking at patterns and knowing how these people behave. I'm serious. Sorry. Are you laughing about defense against the dark arts? It's true.
It's true.
It's just so subtle.
I'm over here speaking parcel tongue and I don't want to, For anybody who knows Harry Potter,
Jerry.
It's very nice, Jerry. But it's true though. But like, we don't want things to be like this. We're not like on our high horse being like, hey, but we know what we're talking about, and we're trying to warn people. And like, I understand where people, feel a certain way about things, and like, no, you're wrong. And you want to hope that things are better, and you want to see the best in these people. But I'm telling you that most people suck.
Yeah.
Most people suck, or they're oblivious. And sometimes they're both. And actually, speaking, I'd love to just play this quick clip of Hakeem Jeffries just speaking of obliviousness. This is just 6 seconds. Okay, this is right after the Iran bombing thing. And by the way, just so everybody knows, this happened on Saturday night. The Democrats did not convene early. Over the weekend, there was no call, there was no meeting, there was no anything. After Donald Trump dropped bombs without congressional approval, which I know the War Powers Act, and there's precedent, not for this, because the American people were not in imminent danger. So when asked, when Hakeem Jeffries was asked about Ro Khanna, I think whatever the War Powers, something or other.
Yeah,
this is
what Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie have come together for bipartisan legislation to basically say the president needs to consult Congress before they do stuff like this, which used to have bipartisan agreement, and it's to see Thomas Massie, and he's a MAGA nut, but he's
Thomas Massie, like my God,
to show you how like out of step Trump is, where you've got those polar opposites still coming together. So anyway, that's
so here's Jeffries. It's only like 6 seconds, but I'm just gonna play this. Emily, I'll hit play.
Would you support the Ro Khanna War Powers resolution?
I haven't taken a look at it.
Okay. It's infuriating. It's infuriating because you're not meeting the moment. This moment called,
and this is why Zoran happens.
This is why he happened. Exactly. It is because these people are not meeting the moment, as Joe said. They're sitting there equivocating. They're sitting there telling us to trust them, that they're on top of this stuff. They're sitting there telling us that we don't know and they do, that they are privy to information. They are privy to tactics. They are privy to strategy that the rest of us are not. And the reality is they're doing jack shit.
Yeah,
and that is why Zoran happens. And that is why people rise up. And that is why people go extreme. And that is why the Tea Party happened. And that is why Donald Trump happened on the Republican side. Because the Republicans went through this 15 years ago.
Yes.
And now it is our turn. And I don't want a Democratic Tea Party, but that is what we're about to get. Thanks to the establishment saying shit like that.
And the difference is that, and we say this often, a lot of people do, is that Democrats have to fall in love and have feelings, but Republicans fall in line. And that's the difference. That's the difference. And that's why this is not really going to get us anywhere. Joe, go ahead.
No.
I mean, I'm going to kind of tie a couple things together and tie them to my over it because we were talking about Mikey Sherrill. And if I were to advise Mikey Sherrill in this moment, I would be telling her, get out there. I don't care. Get on your phone, have one of your staffers record you, show up somewhere and say the following. As a veteran, I am and a member of Congress, I'm incredibly offended right now by several things. Number one, I am offended that Donald Trump A, did this unilaterally without consulting Congress. B, that he canceled the briefing, the classified briefing that members like me were supposed to get, were promised on Monday? He canceled that.
Monday.
And C, I don't know if I started with 1 and then I went B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever it is.
A2.
I feel like Ron Burgundy right now. But then the last part of this is my over. I'm going to get to it really fast because I kind of have a heart out because I'm going to be serious in a little bit, but
Yeah.
my over it, if I were a veteran, if I were any fucking member of Congress, and by the way, Congressman Crow is amazing, and I'm going to be hopefully putting this in a chat where I can say, please do this.
Yeah,
What
Joe, you
they're
should
trying
run.
to do, they have
But
this
keep going.
straw man fucking argument right now, which is bluster and bullshit and cover and gaslighting, where anytime they're questioned by the press or by anybody else in this country, by members of Congress, etc., what do they say? Keg Breath was out doing this morning. Donald Trump has done it repeatedly. Oh, how dare you disparage the men and women who put themselves in harm's way. They called me. He said this today. They called me from Missouri. Who the fuck is they, right? They called me and they said, sir alert, sir, we were right on target, sir. I can't believe how unfairly they're presenting what we did, sir. This is bullshit. And I'll say this, I've given Pamela Brown some shit for some shit she's done, aka like, promoting Jake Tapper's book like it was a fucking infomercial. But Pamela Brown, I had it on the radio this morning, she did after Trump and Kegseth's bullshit where they tried to spin it so that the media was disrespecting the men and women who put themselves in harm when they do this. She came out immediately and said, as the wife of a veteran, that is not true. That is not what is happening. We were questioning. The press has every right to question. The American people have questions. They deserve answers. Congress has questions. They deserve answers. And to conflate those valid questions with billions of dollars of munitions and human assets on the line here, where we would like very much to know what happened, what was at stake, how this decision was made, what the implications of it are, to conflate those reasonable and rational things with us degrading the people who serve our country, especially when coming from suckers and losers himself. I'm over it. I am so, and I've heard it not like the 10 times in the past couple of days. They don't have an answer because they don't have the intelligence yet, because they only have the preliminary reports, and we have these leaks, which we cannot verify all of this yet. But he's talking about using Israeli and Iranian intelligence to confirm total obliteration. And if you push at all, it becomes a binary choice between you loving and hating our troops. Fuck you.
That's right.
And fuck that.
That's right. Amen to that, Joe.
And it's just another group of people that they have tokens for, right? They have the token this person, you have the token black person, you have the token Rick Grinnell is the token gay person, and they use these people as human shields to hide behind when they do something bad.
That's correct.
It's like, let me push you out there and defend, that nothing what we're doing is that bad. And listen, there's a lot of that going on both sides of the aisle right now. But
yes, there's political props. They use them all the time.
And
but that's exactly what's happening.
But
so every Democrat, particularly if you have served, Mikey, get out there right now and do what I just did, but smarter and more articulately and behind something official looking or not, and just meet the fucking moment, because it's here and people are feeling like I'm feeling.
Not smarter, okay, honey? You are really smart, and what you just said is exactly what they should say.
Tom Kean, we've made the decision.
That's right. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise.
And I'm working on a video right now of just some like stuff about Trump saying I have the best people, and we're going to come in with the best national security people, and then it's like of course the lineup of dipshits. But one of them, I found this really great exchange between Mikey Sherrill and Pete Hegseth. And she calls him incompetent. She's like, you're incompetent with managerial. You're incompetent with the money. You're incompetent with this. And she really takes him to task. And it's quite good. And I was watching. I was like, well, this is kind of invigorating. And she's like,
why do you have to search for it, Michelle? Why is it that people don't know about it? Right? Because Mondani did something very smart. Social media game. Best I've seen in ages.
I know.
You knew who he was. He's riding the subway with that dude who does those subway interviews. Like he's doing all of that stuff.
It's the Pete Buttigieg strategy, Liz Smith strategy. Go everywhere.
Why do you have to search for that? That should have been repackaged, and that should have been sent digitally to every single targeted voter in the state of New Jersey. P.S. Not that expensive.
Yeah,
Well, and you're
maybe
well
we'll do
well
that,
suited
Tara.
to.
Maybe we'll
You
do
guys,
that.
seriously.
Hmm.
And maybe I'll say to Mikey, hey, let's go down to Asbury Park. Let's meet up with Tara. Let's get a tomato pie at the Pinball Museum. And let's
Seaside.
fucking talk about this. Yeah,
You can drive up.
And
I'll
do
meet
a
you in the
Zoom with
middle.
Bruce
I'll meet you in the
Springsteen.
middle. Asbury Park
Yeah,
is
we'll
my
go Point
place.
Pleasant. We'll do Point Pleasant.
Okay, we gotta play skee ball. We gotta play skee ball and eat tomato pie
Yes.
and ask Mikey
Yes.
Cheryl, dude, what the
Yes.
hell are you? What are you thinking right now? What are your feelings right now? What do you want to tell
Yes.
people of New Jersey and the people of America? And pass me another fucking piece of pie.
And then we'll go get some Coors on the boardwalk, and we'll have dessert.
What was that
Absolutely.
place in Point Pleasant that was like the tiki bar?
Tiki bar. Are you
Dickinson's.
kidding?
Yeah, the
That's
tiki bar in
funny.
Point Pleasant.
I am the
getting
most
drunk.
non-Jersey person.
Well, we'll
Of all the-
drag you with Mikey Cheryl to the tiki bar in Point
Listen,
Pleasant.
look. I
Today
was
is
like,
time.
here's my beach badge. As soon as we get off, I'm
Oh
going,
my God, I
I'm going
love
to the
that.
beach.
What did that cost you?
Oh,
Well-
Jersey was $8, I think. Is it
Yeah,
$8?
I mean, no, my friends they have a shore house. So if you're
yeah.
a resident, then it's
It's
a
so
different thing.
I mean, for everybody else, because I've seen funny viral videos of people from New Jersey going down the shore and other places, and they get there and they're like, "What do you mean it's free? What do you mean?
Right.
How much is it? How much
Right.
is it?"
What do you mean
Like,
we don't have to
that's
pay?
right.
And they're like, well, wait a minute. Where's the boardwalk though? Where are we going to get a pie?
Yeah. So anyway, sorry to go off on the tangent, but
I
like,
know.
you know what? But there is a little bit of Jersey, and we need to be meeting this moment with. And
Yes.
this is just
Well,
the truth.
it's like what Tara says about Hakeem Jeffries. Is like, you're Brooklyn, beat Brooklyn. Like,
Yes.
why? Like, embrace where you're from, embrace like your roots. And some of these people, I just want to shake them, and I want to be like, who are you? Because we live in a time where everything is on social media and everyone's got a camera in front of their face like this. And people are, if you're not an authentic person, people are going to see right through that shit, and they hate it. Like all that, hot air blowing around, like nobody wants to do that. And then if they don't care about you and they don't believe
Taylor
you,
Ham.
they're not going to show up to vote. And it's that's why Zoran got out the vote for his people,
That's
the people who
right.
support him, and nobody else did, because otherwise the voter turnout in New York was abysmal. And
That's right.
And the same, I mean, Kamala Harris,
The
like,
more committed wins. The
Right.
more committed
Yep.
wins.
Right.
We say this
People-
all the time.
We need
And
more
people-
Taylor Ham on our party and less pork
Yeah,
roll.
Joe, it's almost 1. I know you got to go. So we just want to make sure you get to go and make your thing, your
Listen
Sirius
to the show.
XM
Tell
interview.
people where you're going to be. Sirius, what channel? What's the
Tom
what's the
Hartman
show?
on the Progress channel. That's what it's called, right?
What
Progress?
number is that? Do you
I don't
know?
I don't know. Tom Hartman. I don't know.
Oh yeah, the Progress has 120 something. I forget
yeah.
which one it is. It's in the
I've never done
120s.
Tom's show before, so this is the first time for me to be on Tom's show.
Oh, you'll be
So-
great. You're
You'll
already.
be
We got you
great.
warmed up for it. So go have fun.
Yeah,
And I already
lubricated.
I already had a Taylor ham, egg and cheese with salt, pepper, ketchup on an everything bagel this morning on the beach.
You know
So
what, Tara? I hate to break it to
Heaven.
you. I think you're in South Jersey. I don't think we call it Taylor ham. down
no,
there.
Oh no,
it doesn't matter.
no.
Yes, it is. It's Taylor ham.
I know it's
Taylor
Taylor
ham
ham, but I
everywhere.
think you're.
Down here, no. Taylor ham, egg and cheese. Down the shore is not South Jersey. It's
No.
different.
Ocean County, that's South Jersey. Monmouth
Really not
County,
exempt
The
from
shore.
Jersey.
It's the shore.
it's the shore.
The
Okay.
Pine Barrens are South Jersey.
Yes.
That's west of here.
Pine Barrens. That's it. That's the only part that can call it pork roll.
Hi, Joe.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good show, Joe. You guys, I'm still in shock over what the hell's going on here with this party.
Girl. Yeah, I know.
I
I know.
can't.
Michelle, did you get your over it in? Did we do our all? Did we
No,
all get our
Michelle
over
just
it?
do her over it. Go ahead.
No.
Get your over it in.
Well, there's two things. First of all, I wanted to show the video that we worked on the other night.
Okay.
And also my over it. I couldn't decide between Democrats, but I guess Julie, you've kind of taken care of that. But I guess I just am still really over Jake Tapper in so many ways. And I guess the media at large, but in this particular issue.
Well, it ties in. It ties in because while bombs are being dropped and Donald Trump is doing diplomacy by temper tantrum,
Right.
and all of this, is going on here, and questions about whether it was successful and all this. Jake Tapper's out here talking
Right.
about Joe Biden. So
Right.
it
So
ties in.
to set this up, and I'm sure everyone here has seen this. If not, this is Donald Trump on the South Lawn yesterday morning.
Said that Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Well, he's not wrong.
No,
He's not wrong. Well, it's so funny, Joe.
Rejection.
My Joe and I were laughing about it yesterday because and he's like, the thing about this that's so funny is that he's right about that part, and yet here we are doing all this and carrying things out in the most incompetent manner possible, and then he's at The Hague this morning, which the irony
where he belongs.
Where he belongs. I was like,
can
we
stay there?
Keep him there. Talking about how Hiroshima, the bombs dropped in Iran were like Hiroshima, that they just ended the war and they were so great and they were historic. And I'm like, and this is again, he's upset with CNN and New York Times for reporting on the leak that they obliterated nothing.
Right.
That if anything, just set Iran back a few months, and now probably have the incentive to speed up their their capabilities. So we put
just really quick, because I actually talked to a friend of ours, Michelle, about this situation. And this morning he called me and he basically said that the Iranians already knew that the possibility of this happening would happen. So they started moving their enriched uranium a week ago. Or whatever, a week and a half ago. Right. That's what he said. That the satellite imagery of the trucks moving, that's a thing. It's real. So there wasn't any of that material there for them when they dropped the bunker busters. It was already moved. And I asked him, did he think that this whole ceasefire thing was just a ruse? Like that Iran was willing to say, yeah, we'll do the ceasefire to buy time. And he said, absolutely. He goes, the Iranian regime didn't survive this long by being stupid. Right. They're very smart. They understand. He goes, have they had some, that's right. And have they had some setbacks in some areas? Yes, but they have a plan B. They've been preparing for this. There's a whole nother secret facility where they probably moved all of this to.
So they're like, drop the bombs. Yeah, go ahead.
He goes, ask this question. Why is Donald Trump all about a ceasefire? If you're winning and it was obliterated, why are you pushing for a ceasefire? Only people who are losing are usually push for ceasefires. He's like, why are they pushing for the ceasefire? If it was completely obliterated and you're in the, the winning seat. So it's haphazard, it's crazy, incompetent, and anyway. Sorry.
Can I just preview my Substack quickly for tomorrow based on what you said? Because I want people to really hear me on this. There's a direct correlation between 1996 and what's happening right now. In 1996, Ukraine gave up its nukes. Security guarantees from the United States and from the United Kingdom. Clearly, that meant nothing. If it had kept its nukes, Russia would never have attacked because obviously the risk of nuclear war would have been too great. That did not happen. So if you are at North Korea, which is psychotic, despotic, run by a madman, will never be attacked because they have nuclear weapons.
It's like the beware of dog sign on your fence. You know what I mean? It deters people from messing with you, and as dangerous as it is,
if you are Iranian, you understand something very clearly. After what just happened, you need to get nukes. Any diplomacy you were engaged in, which by the way worked under Obama, it was a shitty deal, but it was better than nothing. Now you know,
Tara,
that the United States cannot be the United States cannot be trusted.
Yeah.
So you need to get nuclear weapons because that is the only way to prevent yourself from getting attacked. They will enrich that uranium like this.
Now too, right? Saudi Arabia now, like they before, were kind of like, well, you think they're not going to try to? It's going to inflame the Middle East arms race now.
Yep. Because if the Iranians have it, the Saudis need to have it, the Qataris need to have it, the Egyptians need to have it. They're not going to allow the Persians to have it. They hate those guys. They're more terrified of them than Israel is.
Right.
So what Benjamin Netanyahu did and what Donald Trump did is assure that the nuclear arms race in the Middle East will begin, and it will be very fast. Thank you.
Yep.
Idiots.
Morons.
That is what happened.
Hypocritical morons. Because this is where also the split in the MAGA base, and I am getting to the Jake Tapper thing, but this is where I just want to show our video really quick.
We have spent more than $7 trillion in fighting wars in the Middle East. As a candidate for president, I loudly pledged a new approach. Great nations do not fight endless wars.
6 months in, and here we are, turning back on the campaign promises.
And I'm the only candidate in this race who can make this promise. I will prevent World War III. Nobody else is going to prevent it. You're going to end up in World War III.
To breaking news. Breaking news.
Breaking news.
The U.S. reportedly striking Iran directly.
President Trump announcing on Truth Social.
A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo.
But I'm proud to be the first president in decades who started no new wars.
And we bombed Iran.
All this, going to war with Iran.
Because MAGA is not for foreign wars.
Yep.
We are not for regime change.
After his officials said, no regime change. That's not what we're doing. It's about the nukes. He put out a tweet.
I want to put up a pretty interesting post from the president here, full screen. It says it's not politically correct to use the term regime change, but if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? And then he ends it with MIGA, make Iran great again.
And the reason I started No New Wars is they respected the people in this room.
And we are for America first.
And part of me was like, oh, we're not really going to do that.
We should have never gone into the Middle East.
We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III.
World War III if something doesn't happen fast. And that's going to be a world war like no others because of nuclear power and other power that's out there.
Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag-draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers.
Thank you very much.
So while all that's going on, Jake Tapper went on Chuck Todd's podcast yesterday. With all of this going on, all of it, this is what they decided to talk about.
So for me, the original sin was running in the first place.
Oh, well, yes, I've heard you talk about this because
his family was in crisis.
Right, because his daughter and his son were addicted to drugs.
I cannot believe to this day, Jake, that Hunter Biden, that Joe Biden did this to his kids.
So somebody close to the family
can't believe that he did it.
Somebody close to the family told us that everybody knows, some of the family aphorisms like don't call a fat person fat. And by that they mean it's not about politeness. It's about hiding truths, not acknowledging truths. 1, Bo is dying. 2, Hunter is addicted. Obviously he was putting his ambition, and if you want to be charitable, his hopes to save the country from Trumpism or whatever, obviously he was putting that above what was going on with his family.
Look, you and I covered, for most of our professional lives, the story of Joe Biden was this guy cared about his family so much he commuted home every night from Washington.
Now by the way,
what else you could say is this man was so ambitious that after his family went through that tragedy, he commuted every day to work. Right. Like it's the same story.
He had his narrative. Had his sister help raise his voice.
I sit here, I look at this and I think, were we sold a 40-year bill of goods?
Oh my God.
Chuck Todd, first of all, Todd, okay.
See,
there's a reason.
Shaky.
I was wondering, I was like, is he sitting on top of a washing machine or is there something else going on here? Right? He was like the whole time. I'm like, what is that? Second of all, you disingenuous hack. This is why you lost your job. This is why, in addition to the fact that you are a terrible journalist and you sat at that desk every Sunday and refused to challenge people on their demolition of our democracy and all the other crazy shit that they were doing. And then Jake Tapper, again, going, how do you sit there and say, for 40 years, were we sold a bill of goods because Joe Biden, who just lost his daughter and wife in a tragic car accident the week before Christmas, and he had just been elected to the Senate and had 2 boys to raise on his salary, went back and forth between Delaware and Washington, D.C., so that he could serve his state and also raise his children. How dare you?
That is so infuriating, and talk about disingenuous. They know damn well that Joe Biden loves his family, and that what he did as a public servant was honorable and in service of both his family and his constituents, and they fucking know that. And they also know that it was Beau Biden's dying wish for his father to run for president. Okay, so he, I can't say why, but I also know intimately about some of the things with the Biden family, and what Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd just said about that, about even implying that Joe Biden would do something selfishly against his family, is bullshit. And they know it. The struggle that the family went through back and forth about him running and not running, that's why he didn't run in 2015. In 2016, was because he was devastated.
Yeah, he's talked about this.
Devastated. And I know that. Okay. And Jill didn't want Joe to run. She was done. She wanted Joe to be a grandpa. He'd served his country enough. And he wouldn't have run until how terrible things were going with Trump that Biden was like, I got to do this. And he had to convince Jill to let him do it. And she finally said, all right, Joe, you know what I mean? And the fact that you go after her too as being the person, but she was protecting him, I'm sure, from vultures like that.
Yes.
But for them to ever imply that this man did anything against what he thought was in the best interest of his kids is bullshit. And they fucking know it.
Let me add
that is disgusting.
Let me just add something to how disgusting this is. They're saying it now that he's out of office. None of this is information, if they had this information, that is new, right? This is just analysis. This is them sitting around psychoanalyzing. But this is the kind of psychoanalysis that did not take place last year. It did not take place 5 years ago. It's taking place now because Joe Biden's on his deathbed.
Yeah.
Right.
He will never be in power again.
And they're vultures.
These
and
two
they're
assholes don't care about anything other than access to power. So it's very easy to sit there and blast Joe Biden, who is dying. Very easy to sit there and blast Hunter. Very easy to sit there and blast Beau, who's dead. But it's hard to do that to Trump. And it's hard to talk about how Trump children are grifting on a daily basis.
You want to talk about somebody who does things for his family.
Donald Trump, who mentally, legitimately is ill.
Yes.
You can't do that because he's the president. He might cut off access to you.
Right.
And more importantly, he might harm the spinoff that CNN is trying to accomplish, which would hurt Jake Tapper's job. Let me just add one more thing, which I have not talked about. I don't think I've told you women about this, but I'm going to tell you this. As you know, I was in Israel, and as you know, I was in a pretty bad war zone. And as you know, I've been very vocal about how the Trump administration abandoned us in Israel.
Yeah.
I was on Abby Phillips' show last week, and they knew very well that I'd come back from Israel. I know this because they told me. They're, we read your Substacks. We understand what you went through. It's awful. I get to the show. And all of a sudden they go, oh, you're not in the A block. You're just in the B through E block. And I go, oh, that's interesting. Why am I not in the A block? And I look, and I'm sitting in the green room waiting to go on. And the A block is all about Israel. It's all about the war. Draw your own conclusions. Draw your conclusions.
At least they had you back on.
That is the state of legacy media today.
Wow.
Tara, I've really been biting my tongue about the person who said that thing at that event that we were at. Do you think I can say who it is? I kind of want to. No? Okay. Well, all I'm going to say is there was a journalist from a major network at this thing who was going off about independent media and how we all need to pay attention more to cable news because they're the responsible ones and they're the ones that are telling the real stories and they have research and they have people who are fact checking and making sure and then you see that. who are placating and bending the knee to a wannabe dictator on his way to being a real dictator, and silencing voices of people like Julie, who was critical of the United States government for basically telling Americans who were stuck in a war zone in a country that we are allied with, figure it out yourself. And we're not allowed to say how we feel about that or what it was like to be sitting in a bomb shelter with your husband and your 13-year-old son being like, I can't get out. How dare you? These people are out of their minds. And this is why there's one thing that Donald Trump was right about this morning at The Hague, is that the CNN is failing and CNN is on its way out because nobody wants to watch it anymore. And here's the reason why, is because people watch stuff like that and they see right through it. And to steal a line from one of our former coworkers, we have no
with no obligation to tell both sides of a lie.
That's right. And they are protecting an authoritarian government. And because of that, and because all the mismanagement and all of the other mistakes that they've made up until this point, is why we are here. And Jake Tapper is a vile, shameless person. And Chuck Todd is too. And they can both go
fuck off.
Yeah. My parents watch the show, so I really I bite my tongue and all the things that I really want to say. So, Tara,
I'm here to help.
Tara, you can be my anger translator.
Yes, I don't mind. I'm sorry, but it's just
it's disgusting. It is disgusting. It's like
I'm so furious. I haven't seen the full clip. I only saw some of it. I didn't see all of that.
Yeah, it's infuriating.
It makes me so infuriated because where was that energy for Donald Trump and his family, who are actually terrible charlatans that are destroying this country and upsetting the world order? Like what? Like where is that energy?
Right.
Were mistakes made by Biden or his campaign folks? Of course. Yeah. But in the greater scheme of things, are you fucking kidding me?
Right.
Like, I just can't.
Donald Trump, who's taking bribes from foreign governments via his crypto scam,
in
bajillions of dollars. Right. Eric, his son, who stole money from children's cancer charities, who are dismantling the soft power of the American government around the world, and which has resulted in tens of thousands of deaths since January 20th. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on and on. Not to mention his mental health. I mean, again, I've been going through all these clips from the last 10 years. Watching Donald Trump speak 10 years ago is a different experience. Go back and watch. He is a different person. He is in decline. And yet Jake Tapper and Chuck Todd sit there on their little thrones, feeling all really impressed of themselves on their high horses when they are wrong. And what they are doing, listen, people like this are going to have to meet their maker someday. And you know what? They're going to have to explain their role in all of this death and destruction.
Yep. That's absolutely correct. 1000% correct. And it's, this is how we got here in a lot of ways. And that's why, once again,
so mad.
We have to counter it. That's why you're seeing the success now of Terry Moran, who was fired from ABC for telling the truth. And Terry Moran was like, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm going to go and be louder. And
Jim Acosta.
Jim Acosta. I started with Terry because he's the most recent one, right?
Yeah.
An expat now from Legacy Media. Terry Moran, Katie Fenn, John Lemon, Jim Acosta. They are wildly successful now, independently with Substack and StreamYard, YouTube, because of what we just saw. They're like, we're not doing this. We are not doing this. Don was on Ari Melber last night talking about he was asking him questions, and he was saying about, as a journalist, he goes, we have a responsibility to tell the truth, and we cannot be cautious. We can't be, double-siding things. He goes, it's our responsibility to tell the truth without fear or favor, period.
Yep.
Period.
Not answering to corporate overlords.
That's right. So I have to jump, guys, because I have a 1:30, and then the shore is calling me. But you guys,
the beach badge is too expensive not to use, Tara.
Correct. No, it's also 100 degrees outside, and so the ocean is calling me. I need to replenish.
I have to go downtown in a half hour, and I'm
That's correct, Jacqueline. The Jersey girl comes out, but the Jersey girl's really coming out because I'm in my happy place. I'm in my home element. But anyway, did you guys have final words? That we should probably go anyway.
My final words are: get it together, Democrats. Seriously, the world is on fire. Everything's on fire. Get your shit together. And media, get your shit together. Because if you don't, listen, I laugh about this. Our little show on Saturdays gets 10% of what CNN's ratings
we have
are.
10,000 live watchers or live viewers right now. This is across platforms, but I'm looking at it and it's 10,000.
Yeah. And it's more on Saturdays. I'm saying this because I don't understand what's not clear here. People are looking for authenticity. People are looking for honesty. We don't pull any punches. I'm sitting here telling you what happened at CNN. Probably if anybody from CNN is watching, that means I'll never be invited back again. I don't give a rat's ass.
Yeah. Who gives a shit at this point?
And that's my point. My point is, why are people not willing to just be themselves?
I know.
That involves politicians, that involves media. Stop with the bullshit access journalism and start reporting. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry,
and it's also like integrity. And that's where like the four of us, us three plus Joe, who had to leave early, if you're just watching now, integrity is very, very important to us. And like the four of us, none of us will do things for money or for falling in line or anything like that, that goes against our moral code and things that we believe to be right and wrong. And, we, at least I can speak for Tara and myself. We have had to pay, we've greatly for that in our own lives professionally.
Literally, yeah.
For standing up to things that we saw and we didn't think were right. And we will continue to do that for as long as we possibly can, because it is do or die, people.
Yep. In more ways than one. In more ways than one.
Yeah. Tara, Ocean County, it is deep red Republican. Try not to run into any Trumpers on the beach. I'm sure you will.
Listen, around the corner from where I am, there's a restaurant that we go to that we love. And for years, we didn't go there because there was a huge Trump 2020 sign in the parking lot fence. And we were like, fuck that place. We're not going there. And then we found out through our friends that that's not, the fence isn't the owners of the restaurant. It's their neighbors. And so we finally tried the restaurant and befriended the owner. And now it's it's a great restaurant. And I'm not going to name because I don't want to get them in trouble, but it was a whole thing. And now just out on our way here, there's a big ass Trump is back 2024 flag over the old sign hanging on the thing. And I'm like, these people down here,
they all think they're owning the libs, and it's
and like,
it's the same way that the far left feels like they're owning the middle, like with all of their nonsense. And I'm like, if you guys, if you could look 10 years in the future, I think you would all be acting very differently.
Yes. So don't worry. I have my, the road to fascism is paved with people who told us we were overreacting. So I have that t-shirt with me, which I will be wearing down here because I don't give a fuck. On that note, everybody have a happy Wednesday. We'll see you Saturday.
See you Saturday morning, everybody.
Tomorrow night, Michelle and I on the stakes at 7:30 over at Seneca Project. Yep. And
keep it real. That's all.
Keep it real.
Keep it real.
Keep it 100, as the kids say. We'll see you guys.
Bye, everybody.